We are corgi lovers. As a matter of fact, in our house right now is our 7th corgi. I mean, we've been married for, 52 years, so we're allowed to have lots of corgis. But anyway, there was a time when we had one that it actually was our first one, who was only with us for 5 years, and she got parvo. Now, this is back in a time when parvo was something new and the vets were not really familiar with it. And so we lost her at 5 years. So we called our breeder and said, gee, do you have any puppies? And she says, you know what time of year is? We don't have puppies in the fall. You just, well, why don't you just come and visit us and maybe we can find something. Yeah, we said, well, it's back in Pennsylvania. We're really kind of tied up. She says, well, okay, I have a dog and it has been abused. There's a long story, but when I got her back, I had to take her to the vet before I took her home. That was the problem of this dog. She had been terribly abused. I will send her to you. I'll fly her out to you. And if you don't get along with her, you can send her back. Okay. So Joyce went to the airport and she picked up this dog in a crate. Now, the dog had been in the crate for like about 10 hours. She had a hard time getting the dog out of the crate. She was just way, way in the back and didn't want to come. Well, finally, she pulled the dog out, took her in the house, took her out in the backyard, put her on a leash, walked around to show her where boundaries are. And this dog would not go potty. And Joyce did this for like an hour, and the dog would not go potty. And finally, Joyce said, well, she's a trained dog. She's got to go. So she took her off the leash, opened the door. The dog shot out to the back end of the back corner of our backyard. She peed, and she came right back in the house. So that was our first relationship with Trying Times Omarji. What do you call Trying Times Omarji? Well, we were kind of looking for a name, and we went to church the next Sunday, and the minister named her. He referred to the story of the Velveteen Rabbit. You had to be loved until all your joints were limp and your fur was all gone. So we thought, well, we can name her Velvet. And we did. And she accepted the name. She came to the name Velvet. It was just fine. It took us about 2 years before she would come out from under the table. She had been that much abused. She trusted us. She did things with us. But boy, at the slightest little thing, she was under the table. Well, when she got to be about 14, she began to lose her sight. And we called the breeder, and the breeder says, I know exactly what you need, so come over and visit us. Well, we were going to Pennsylvania anyway for something else, and where we were was about 20 miles away from the breeder. So we happily went over, and of course, Corgi breeder has lots of puppies. And she started showing us puppies. She had a couple that were a little bit older, and you had to take the both of them. They were brother and sister. Yeah, that didn't work. No. And then she started bringing out the little puppies, and Joyce would hold a little puppy, and she'd pet the little puppy, and then she'd hand it off to me. And this went on, I don't know how many puppies, 5 or 6. And finally, the breeder looked at Joyce, and she says, that's not the dog you want. She came out with this dog. Now, it's a puppy. Okay, it's a puppy. It's, about 15 weeks? 5 weeks? No. 5 months old? Something like that. Anyway, 5 months old. And she put the puppy in Joyce's arm. And she's petting her. And all of a sudden, she realized she could hold her arm out like this, shake it, and that puppy would be hanging on. That puppy was going home with us. Well, it turned out that was Morgan. Morgan was a dog's dog. He would put up with people. He could be loving. He was very obedient, a typical corgi, but he was a dog's dog. As soon as he got into our house, he recognized that Velvet was having trouble seeing. And he just followed her around, making sure that she didn't stumble over anything. And this went on for, a year at least. We had a friend show up. And the friend had a schnauzer. It was a miniature schnauzer. And she had gone blind, totally blind. He had come down from Wisconsin to where we were living. We were in Neenah at the time. Still in Wisconsin, but he was up in Door County. Anyway, he came down with his motorhome, and we told him, let your dog come in the house. No, she's blind and it won't. I said, go get your dog. So finally, he got tired of us grousing at him, and he went out, and he set his dog down. As he came in from the garage, he set her down in the doorway. Morgan was there like a shot, and Morgan recognized that she needed help. He just walked beside her, he showed her where the water dish was, and he stayed with her for the tour of the house. And I remember that Gary was just amazed. He just was watching. But that was Morgan. He was a dog's dog. He was a helper dog, but one of the other funny things about Morgan, when we brought him home, he had not had solid food. I think he was younger than 5 months. Anyway, the breeder had given us these cute little stars. And she says, you can feed him, he'll get the idea. And sure enough, he did. When we traded that car about a year and a half later, we still found little stars all under the seat. Anyway, Velvet lived to be about 16, and Morgan lived about 16 himself. But we love corgis, and that's just the story of one of our corgis. Well, actually 2. And Santa Claus does have dogs, yes, but they're all corgis. Now you gotta remember, I remain forever Santa. Woof.